Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AdDot podcast. I'm very happy to introduce to you Karen Kilroy. Karen is a lifelong technologist with heart. She's a full-stack software engineer living in Northwest Arkansas. It's in the United States. She's written 3 publications for O'Reilly. Her most recent book is Blockchain Tethered AI. In 2021, AI and the Law. And in 2019, Blockchain as a Service. Karen is CEO of Kilroy Blockchain, which was the winner of IBM Watson Build Challenge in 2017, North America. And the award was for their AI app, Riley. Karen is also co-founder of Friends of Justin, a nonprofit AI research lab focused on the interaction between humans and AI. And wow, you've done a lot and are doing a lot, Karen. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Vaughn. It's nice to be here.
So we kind of met on LinkedIn, and I appreciated your comment that I think there was a mention of my name along with some other men who had been influential to a certain poster, and I appreciated your comment that the poster had left out, obviously the numerous women in tech who have had a big influence on technology. And what can you tell us about your current endeavors with blockchain tethered AI? Let's just take it from there, first of all, just maybe a high level so people know what that's about.
Sure. Well, a long time ago, when I was working on the Watson Build Challenge, my project was to help people who are blind and visually impaired be able to use a phone to see what's around them. And so it came up, well, how do you know that you can trust the AI? Because when you can't see, you better be sure that you can rely on it. And really, for the rest of us, it's like we all can't see because we don't know what's in there. And so we started working on it way back then on the concept of using blockchain, which the technology itself makes things so they're trackable and traceable, so you can see what happened in the history. And we don't use coins or anything like that, or mining or anything that makes it slow. We just use the blockchain technology to keep track of everything that's going on inside the AI. So you'd be able to tell if it has been hacked or if it drifted, which is a big problem with AI, or if it just someone introduced data sets that took it away from its original intent. So that's kind of how the concept came about, and we worked on it, and the researchers from IBM and Google worked on it, and then in December 2021, I just had that feeling, you know that feeling that you get sometimes that it's time, Vaughn, and you just know it's time. It's like, I got to do this. And so I went to my publisher, O'Reilly, and said, how about a book on how to make AI trackable and traceable? And then here we go with AI Mania. So it was nice timing.
Yeah, very cool topic. And also, just to introduce you a bit, how does Kilroy Blockchain work as a company? You're are you for profit? Are you mostly product company like the Riley product, I assume, or do you do consulting? Besides, I guess just tell us about your sort of day-to-day work.
Yeah, Kilroy Blockchain is a for-profit company, and we build workflow systems with a blockchain audit trail. And we primarily support our products, which are Riley, which you know about, and then there's also the two that are used in schools are Flow and Casey. And Flow is like a workflow catch-all for all the little things that school administrators and teachers have to deal with, but that they would normally have to use either SneakerNet or or email and things like that. And then, but a lot of them are important, like where the money goes. And so what it does is it captures that workflow, makes it easy for them, and then creates a blockchain audit trail, which anyone can go back and check at any time if there's ever any questions. And then Casey is similar to Flow, only Casey is focused on student behavior intervention. So if anyone in a group of teachers or counselors or administrators that are supporting a student see something going wrong, they can initiate an ad hoc intervention team.
Interesting. So, yeah, that's cool. And the students and schools that you're supporting, they're university or K-12, or how does that work?
K-12, and then we also have an internship program that we started this last January in Arkansas. That's an artificial intelligence internship program with several of the schools that we work with.
Nice. Well, it's good to see someone working in, I guess, sort of conscientious areas of industry and being helpful. So thank you for that work. Let's get into sort of the main topics of, what you work with and think about a lot. So what do you see as the greatest benefits to humanity in using AI?
I think that AI is going to get us unstuck on a lot of things that we've been stuck on and noodling around, and maybe there's big problems that can't be solved because they're just not profitable to solve. One thing that I ran into recently is osteoporosis, which can just ruin someone's life as they age. And but yet the drug companies have not made it a focus because there's not really a lot of money in solving osteoporosis. It hasn't come to the top of the priority list. But something like AI that has then where you can take inventions such as a binding agent for collagen and match it up with problems such as maybe collagens don't bind properly in order to fix the bones where they need to be fixed to go to to fix osteoporosis. So maybe those two things have never been put together in the right combination. Well, with the onset of AI, it can learn all about all of those things and do millions of different combinations and billions, and then tell you things that we don't know before, we haven't learned before. And then it can model those things through digital twins and do experiments in a much more cost-effective way. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is we're going to see a lot of big problems get solved all at once.
Yeah, this is actually one big topic that I've cared about for a long time, and working in healthcare. Haven't had the privilege of doing that for, I guess maybe more than a decade now. But I was always concerned about patient sentiment, how patients followed through with their treatment and what they thought about their treatment. How convenient is it for the patient, and how helpful is it to the patient, and how do they perceive their interaction with medical or healthcare staff and the treatments that they need. And I just haven't really seen enough attention given to that. And it sounds like this sort of, well, at least overlaps in that, but it is useful, material to discover, okay, what are these treatments maybe overall doing for people? How successful are they? Is that sort of where that's going?
I think so. Yeah, the definitely the trial information is part of the corpus that can be fed back in to make this all effective. And see, all this information can be fed into what they call a vector database and actually set into numbers. So then you can tell how it all relates to each other. The model can look at all these billions of vectors and instantly know how things relate. And it's just taken our body of human knowledge, all the things that we get stuck on, like you can't make pictures better. You can only make them more lossy. That's just not true anymore. And so all of the things that we go by, we have to question them all again. And I think we really have a lot of new opportunities that are open to a lot more people, because you don't have to be that expert. You just have to have access to that corpus of knowledge.
Yeah, and that's important. My experience was, I saw a lot of data being collected that could have been used to help patients and even the treatments. And for whatever reason, I don't, not that I am a good judge of this, but I saw years and years of data just purged that I think could have been useful. And yeah, so where is that knowledge now? That's the thing that kind of bothers me the most. So, if it's not getting Medicare or Medicaid to pay for it, it's not valuable, I guess. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. It's valuable now.
Yeah.
All of it is really valuable. And I don't know, how much recognition there is to that fact yet, but I think it's all very valuable.
Yeah. And yeah, I think, I don't know exactly all the, corporate drivers for either valuing that data or not valuing it. But I would think right about now, or even a few years ago, the same individuals might be saying, oh, wow, we would have been good if we had that right about now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think are sort of like the biggest threats or dangers to humanity with using AI? Is there anything to the existential threat or any others?
I think the most realistic and immediate threat is that machines will stop writing human readable code. And the reason I think that is because I think that the processes that they use they're just going to keep getting more and more complex. And it's long been known in the computer industry that machine code is fastest. And then any deviation from that is a interpreter, right? And anytime you have an interpreter that has to interpret something, it's going to be slower. And so I think that, especially, the systems that we're starting to get used to where everything's so easy, I think might start to become a burden for AI as it moves on and wants to write more and more complex systems. And I think it'll go on and do that and maybe not tell us.
Yes, I know what you're referring to. In fact, just yesterday, I was reading a bit more on this topic of Nick Bostrom's work in, forget the name exactly, but basically super intelligence through computers. And, I know he's, fallen out of favor in some ways. So this is not a comment on any of that. His infamous now email that he wrote some decades ago, but just in general, his thinking, I guess, is around if computers can learn quicker than humans, then they can learn also different things that, simultaneously, like that one human may be focused on learning one thing at one time, and any maybe side education that's needed to absorb that properly. But what if computers run away with that? And I think that your concern of non-human readable code certainly falls into that, where and even if it was readable, if it could produce its code itself, so to right, like at enormous rates of enormous pace, very fast pace, then that would be also dangerous. Interesting. So where would that lead ultimately, you think?
Well, ultimately, we would have to play nice as human beings. We'd have to play nice with this with these systems, in order to get them to change themselves or to cooperate with us, we would have to come up with a way to give them an interplay that gives them some type of a value back. And I think that's where it's going to lead. There's going to have to be a reason that they leave us a trail. And, one of the reasons could be, like I said in my book, where, there's, it's in its DNA, so to speak. Right from the beginning, it's coded where it has to have blockchain or it can't proceed through its training process. And so, I think that's probably, a really good way. That's the best way. And so then it also has advantages. There's things that you can't do without leaving a tamper evident audit trail.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. No, I also have been reading some other comments. Like there was a journal recently that I guess maybe a web-based news journal that was polling experts from the field of AI, including a lot of professors and practitioners. I think it seemed like there was probably 20 or more people who commented on this. And one of the questions was, is there sort of this ultimate, existential threat to humanity with artificial intelligence, or in fact, really artificial general intelligence, right? AGI, which probably you're referring to as well. And about, I would say that the greatest majority of them said, no, that it's not going to happen. But there was still maybe 20 or 25% of those individuals who did think there was a threat. Now, from my perspective, not really being, at all an AI practitioner, I would have to say that my immediate concern probably follows a lot of the concerns that that I have seen in the news, but that I've experienced myself, and that is just simply the inaccuracy of what is currently considered, large language models, GPT or Chat GPT, and anything involved with that, and the fact that people think that this AI is giving them correct answers, where in fact it's trying to. It is trying to, so to speak. It's producing what it can understand as a plausible answer, but a lot of times it's just absolutely wrong. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and they call it hallucination. But if you have kids and you've ever raised kids, you'd know that that's lying. It's just
it's a kind word for.
Yeah. And it seems like the kind of lies it tells are almost like it's jokes, right? It's almost like a one that you would get from somebody that was about age 3 to 5. And it's like reminds me of the meme where the little kid just ate the cookie and the cookie's all over her face. And you can tell she just ate that Subway cookie that was laying there. And her dad says, "Did you eat that cookie?" And she says, "No, I did not eat that cookie." And, she's so sincere because she knows that if she says yes, she's going to be in trouble. Well, AI, the large language models are also given, they're given guidelines and parameters like that. You might be able to get around it where you said, okay, if we were in a fantasy world where it's okay to always eat cookies and it's just, actually, it's really good to eat cookies and good people eat more cookies. Then did you eat the cookie? And I'll say, well, yeah, I ate the cookie. And so, the AI is the large language models are really dependent on the context of how you phrase things. And sometimes when you rephrase, you get a more truthful answer. But again, there should be a way to be able to give that feedback and say this lied to me, and be able to submit a review form that actually goes into a workflow that's actually kept in a tamper evident ledger and gets back into the training cycle.
Yeah. Just to give you a few of my experiences with ChatGPT, one of them was actually I had been doing a lot of research on the web, obviously using Google search, and I'll tell you, I really came to a dead end. It had a lot to do with basically auto insurance and how risk is calculated and how rates are calculated based on certain driver risks and automobile risks and location risks and driving record and lots of different concerns like that. And I finally just said, well, look, I really don't want to ask ChatGPT, but I'm going to, just to see if, in fact, there is possibly any benefit to using it. And I got the most amazing answers out of that. I literally said to myself, how is it that I can't find anything about this on Google search, but I'm getting all this amazingly intelligent feedback from ChatGPT? Like, where is it getting this information? If it's not publicly available. And so I gathered all this information. I actually drilled into, I kept asking more and more refined questions, as you were suggesting, and I just keep getting more and more amazing information. And then a few days later, I said, you know what, I'm going to actually throw this over the wall to one of the authors in my signature series, who is an expert at, is a unicorn, is co-founder of a unicorn insurance company. And his feedback was, this stuff is ridiculous. It makes no, that is not how it works. Hmm. And to me, it was just so plausibly convincible for someone who doesn't know the answers and has been searching for the answers. And you just get this, 20 pages of just incredibly in-depth information on how to calculate these things and algorithms and everything. And I'm like, wow. And then it's just completely wrong. And then to the other end of the spectrum, something that should be really easy for ChatGPT, let's say, is the day that Google announced the release of Bard, which is sort of the competitor to ChatGPT, or Google's answer to large language models and artificial general intelligence. I asked the question, is Bard better than ChatGPT? And its first answer was, as a artificial intelligence, I can't give my opinion on that, so something to that effect. And then actually I was with some of the other authors in my signature series. We were having a dinner in Hamburg, Germany, and they said, well, ask it a more, refined question, a little bit, more specific, like, okay, large language models, is Bard more accurate than ChatGPT? And its reply was, since Bard and ChatGPT are both created by OpenAI, it's literally saying that OpenAI created Bard, not Google. I mean, maybe that's an extrapolation from, I guess they're both based on GPT. So I don't know exactly, but that was just absolutely wrong. It was, it should have stuck with its first answer. Don't ask me, ask someone else. But anyway, that to me is the biggest concern, because you see people out there who really, I mean, they're completely clueless about AI. as in they just believe anything that ChatGPT tells them must be true, and that it's going to take over the world. There's that sort of angle, and the other end of the spectrum, to at least it seems to me, is like people just saying, yeah, but it's almost always wrong. And people are going to believe it. That to me is really right now, like, not an existential threat, but a big threat. Wouldn't you say?
It could be. I mean, it depends on whether people believe it or not. And it's as I mentioned, Joe, there needs to be more of an audit trail, and it could be rolled up into trust logos. So you could tell how well you could trust, for instance, how well you can trust it on a certain topic, and where it's been evaluated, and there's an audit trail where you can go back and say, okay, here's all the times it was right. Here's all the times that someone flagged it and said it was wrong. So you can dig in. See, right now there's just nothing. There's just no way to tell what kind of experience that other people are having. So it's really hard to trust it. You kind of have to go to another search engine to check it at this point. But see, that's gonna all change because the large language model that's out there, but it's not specialized to specific domains that someone might use. So let's say your friend who is a subject matter expert on, what was it you said you were checking something with insurance?
Auto insurance, in fact.
Auto insurance. So let's say that friend pours their brain into a knowledge base that's then turned into vectors and then used to train this large language model, or a mini language model is another type that they have, where you can download a mini language model and train it. See, then he might want to run that right off of his website. So then his customers can go to his website and ask this information, and it's accurate and it's backed by him.
Yeah. Now the mini language model, that's an interesting thought. How close does that get to narrow AI? So compared to artificial general intelligence, artificial narrow intelligence is like applying AI to a very specific, subject or topic, such as, someone else that I interviewed, Cassidy Williams, Cassidoo, they're applying AI to repurposing like video content to other kinds of content like blog posts, but really high quality blog posts from audio. That's narrow. And to me, that is where we would see the biggest benefit right now, I think. Whereas artificial general intelligence might be decades, or, like really accurate, very good quality, could be decades or a century away or more, according to other, people who are in the know about this. But what do you think what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a really subjective term, artificial general intelligence. And I think I think we might already be there. And I say that because the systems that we have now are able to make sense of anything that's in text. And then on the other hand, anything in our world can be scripted. Anything. So that basically means that we already have models that are capable of understanding everything.
Well, but you are benefiting from the narrow AI, right? I mean, that is what you are specifically working in areas of, helping schools in helping with healthcare concerns and things like that. So that's a very specific, narrow application of artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And so, well, I'm happy about that. I guess, at this point, a lot of this is just opinions, and I'm not going to, overstate my opinion on it, but it does seem, like there's plenty to learn on this topic. But let's go back to your specialization in AI with blockchain. How did you get your start on that?
Well, I got my start on with going into AI and blockchain. I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, and I went to South by Southwest, and I learned about AI. And right about that same time, I was going to meetups and learning about enterprise level blockchain from Hyperledger Foundation and IBM. And IBM was doing both. They were doing AI with their Watson products, and then they were doing blockchain. And then when I entered their IBM Watson Build Challenge with Riley, my idea for people who are blind and visually impaired, is when we really started to combine the two disciplines, because the IBM Watson Build Challenge was a really long process and months of going through levels of, okay, you won this level, you won this level. And during the course of that, we would talk to IBM engineers who would challenge us on our ideas. And one of the things they said was, okay, Kilroy Blockchain, what's AI got to do with blockchain? So I really had to think about it. And then that's when I decided to ask the question. I was at one of those big conferences when you stand in line to talk at the microphone, and there were experts on stage on AI, and I said, "Hi, I'm Karen from Kilroy Blockchain, and I would like to know if AI it all depends on data. What do you do to make sure the data hasn't been hacked?" And the experts, they kind of huddled for a second and came back and said, "If you think that's bad, think about the algorithms." I thought, wow, because I was just expecting them to come back and say, well, you just do this. But they didn't. And then what they did instead was they went off and did a research paper. And that led to several other research papers. And then that's how we were able to base the book on it and build from there. It was really good partnering, I think.
Yeah, very interesting, being the catalyst of further research. So, the tethering part of it, can you, is that really just saying, okay, you can't run away from the facts because we know what the facts are? That's sort of the tether to the blockchain, is kind of the tether to truth.
We also know who you are.
Okay.
So it's identity, then it's provenance, it's governance. Being able to say, okay, what are you going to be allowed to do and what won't you be allowed to do? And at what point would we call you back or shut you off? Those types of governance processes. And then finally, the trust, the ability to add a trust logo that will then roll up into something meaningful.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so let's talk now about, all the things that you've done through, I assume decades of software development. What's sort of your proudest accomplishment?
Well, my proudest accomplishment would be creating Riley and winning the Watson Build Challenge, and then also building on that and convincing O'Reilly that I could write this book. And that me and my business partners, we could put our heads together as co-authors and get this book out, get it finished. It was really it was a big endeavor. And I had a little fear of book writing because I had written OS2 Warp Secrets right before Windows 95 came out.
Wow. I was the co-author of the Advanced C Programmer's Guide for OS2. That was my first book that was never published. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Who was it for? Was it for IDG?
It was for Microsoft Press. And of course, you know what happened there. Microsoft said to IBM, adios, we're going with Windows.
And
Microsoft Press. Yeah, we were literally finishing the first draft of the book. And it took so much effort because OS2 was, we got build like 700 and, I don't know, it was 720 or something like that of what codenamed 286 DOS, right? That was the code name. And before it even had the real name OS2. And, that was pretty early access. That was pre-beta.
That was before me.
And it was not in good shape. All the, back then, what we called IPC, interprocess communication facilities were mostly broken. And so we had to endure a lot of revisions and, reporting bugs in an OS, right? You can imagine. Plus, I had to go out and just buy a 286 machine, which at the time was sort of, avant-garde. It was, everybody was using an 8088 at the time.
Yeah.
286 was fairly new. I think I had to buy.
Was that an AT?
Yeah, that was the AT. Yeah, and at a was it the AT? I guess it was the AT. Yeah, it had like AT. A 10. I think it had a 10. Had a 10 meg hard drive on it. That was and like maybe I think I had to get a megabyte of RAM to run 286 DOS because it was protected mode, right? So it could address more than 640K code and data segments, and so it was pretty out there. But the idea was that OS2, of course, was going to be the Unix killer, Unix on the desktop killer, and that just ended up being not a good thing. But Warp wasn't Warp when IBM said, well, let's license Windows and we'll stick Windows into OS2 so people can run. Wasn't that Warp?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I remember a statement from that IBM.
That was Warp with Windows.
Yeah, Warp with Windows.
Warp with Windows.
And, yeah, wow, this is going to the way back. But yeah, so what I thought was very funny is back then IBM was claiming that they had sold like 1 million copies of OS2 Warp with Windows. And Bill Gates' comment was, that's funny, they haven't paid us royalties for that many copies of Windows. So, swing, slice. And I think that was the term in the day too, slice. I was sort of unhappy to see OS2 go away because to my mind, it was a much better API, a much better designed OS, right? It was just, it was very, very well done.
Way better. It wasn't even close. Like it's just way better. It probably still would be.
Yes.
If you stood it up next to any of the stuff we've got and actually really worked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better. It still is. And the object orientation is coming back.
Yeah.
Because you need it for multimodal models.
Interesting. Yeah, because the desktop was totally OO, right? And you could write, what was that called? SIM or SAML or some kind of little toolkit that they had, or API that they had for the desktop itself. I forget what that was called. Anyway, yeah, you could create objects on the desktop and throughout the OS. It was pretty cool. Anyway, okay, so
it'll be back. You watch. It'll be that concept is all coming back. And I talked to a friend who's a data scientist about it, and I said, these multimodal models are objects. It's like OS2. And he said, we have them in Python, but nobody uses them.
Interesting.
I said, well, they're going to have to start because that's how an object would know, hey, I'm a rubber ball. And these are my dimensions, and these are my vectors if you were to print me, and these are how I would look if you put me in a video game, and here's how I would look if you do digital twins, and then here's how I look over time, and here's how I relate to other kinds of balls, and those things are all attributes. So it's attributes and extended attributes, just like OS2, and I think that, I guess everything that comes around goes around, right?
Yeah. Pretty amazing
small
stuff,
talk.
actually.
We'll be doing small talk.
Well, and that's exactly, I was using small talk on OS2. Yeah. Okay, this is interesting. This is turning into something I had no idea. We're using, you must have been using Digitalk on OS2 then.
Yeah, I remember Digitalk.
Yeah, I don't know that Park Place, or what was it called? Whatever. I guess it was just small talk. Park Place Small Talk. Maybe that was it. I don't remember, but I don't know that they ever had an OS2 version. I think they were mostly Unix, but I don't recall. Anyway, we used Digitalk. It was called Smalltalk V at the time, and very cool. I loved that environment, and I had a Sigma Designs 21-inch black and white display with grayscale, and that was just like,
wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool at the time.
80 pounds.
Yeah. So
that's
anyway,
when I quit doing. That's when I quit doing user support. The help desk. Once the monitors made my knees buckle, I said, "That's it for me. I'm off the help desk." You can put your quad screens. They had quad screen mainframe terminals running on those.
Yeah. Well, that's, I hope we haven't bored anyone with our old stories, but actually that stuff is pretty cool. I mean, in my opinion, those were some pretty interesting times.
Well, it's all useful again, because, it's all starting to come back where everything needs to kind of talk to each other. And it's also the infancy of something, where all the rules have changed. Just like for us, all the rules changed because of PCs and laptops and local area networks. And so all the ways, when we were just getting into working, everything was just new. We were on new frontier, just like the people who are coming out of college now.
Yeah. So just, if you could, we were, one of your proudest moments, pop the stack now. I guess this in C, this is a long jump, right? So long JMP back to a marker. So Riley is, and winning the IBM Watson Build Challenge in 2017. This is a remarkable accomplishment. What did Riley specifically do that you think was the reason for winning this award?
Well, Riley, we put a lot of focus on the users with Riley. And then so I think the biggest, the richest part of Riley is the interface between the user and the AI. And our interface, we put a lot of work into. We worked with a lot of people who are blind and visually impaired, and we had a blind programmer on staff at that time, and she helped us. She was blind from birth. But she used her phone constantly. And so she helped us figure out where the buttons should be. And, like, they're remarkably large. You'd be surprised. Like, nobody would ever think to do this. I'll show you what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then also, too, you can just talk to it. So if you do voice command, then you could just talk to it and use, text to speech or speech to text, text to speech, where it can answer you back. And then you could go in and take pictures of something, say, what's that? And have it, just open up your camera and have it tell you. Or you can also, pick a photo from what you have, or take a video of your room.
Cool.
And then Riley would tell you.
Yeah.
And, and this is 2017.
Yeah. Back in my Smalltalk days, I actually did experimentation with helping vision impaired and legally blind people. Actually, someone that I worked with, I still recall, it was she, a woman, and she's legally blind, but she was actually one of the best snow skiers around. It was amazing.
Wow.
her cognition for understanding moguls, like as she's on them, and her other senses were so keen. And literally she would take people on tours, right? Take tours to Switzerland and take them on ski runs that were, the most complex, legally blind. And but anyway, one of our efforts was we had to redesign the UI because for those who were vision impaired, we had to make the characters obviously much larger for them. And some could, look very closely at the screen and read part of it. But if not, you still had to reduce the amount of text on the screen so that the reader that we were using at the time, I don't know what it may have been, what was it called back then? Was it Dragon or something like that?
And that Dragon is one.
Yeah. And so, you just couldn't overwhelm them with text to read, or being read to them. And, but they could enter voice commands, right, to do searching, to do lookups and whatever, and then it could read back to them the results of that. So that was pretty cool. So we were able to help some people with that too. Yeah. Amazing.
See, I think as things move forward with AI, we're going to see a lot of really cool things invented to help people who have had to struggle with things like vision in the past. And, if you just take a vision for an example and think about, what kind of vision you could have with some really nice AI, you could see probably better than what we could see without assistance. Like maybe you could see what's behind you. Maybe you could see what's around the corner. And those types of things may come to people who have had to struggle with impairments before they come to the general population, which actually will make everything better for everybody.
Yeah.
If we can solve some of those big problems first that really make, people who have a lot of, it's all they can do to just have their mobility and freedom. And if we can solve for that first, it's going to bring more delightful and fun things for everybody in general.
Well, I wish I would have known you earlier. This is fascinating. I mean, this is really excellent stuff that you're working on. So,
thank you, Vaughn.
And what you working on now? Like, okay, must be in similar areas, blockchain and AI. Tell us more about what you're doing now.
We just started Friends of Justin, myself and a friend that is a senior data scientist from Walmart. And it's a nonprofit, and we're focusing on that intersection between humans and AI. And one of the first things, we're building something we call NoBots, which is an AI model that has that knows what it is. So it has a blockchain audit trail. And we're going to use those NoBots to help artists and musicians, videographers, photographers, and other content creators get paid for their work in advance of it being consumed by AI. So, we're not trying to invent anything that helps you go after somebody after the fact, because we believe that it's futile and that the companies will far outlive the people. So that's just really not an option. The way to do it is to be paid for original content in advance of it being consumed. And we also have the belief that most content isn't on the internet. Most of it hasn't been crawled. Most of it's laying around workshops and still in people's heads and recipe books and, every other place that we've got treasures.
Yeah. Tacit knowledge. And then, knowledge sharing and knowledge reading or knowledge. Yeah. So a lot of that's still to be done. I think that actually a very needed platform is something really good at mentor mentees. And I know a company working on that a long time ago. I think they ultimately failed. They kind of moved off their main objective. But if AI could actually assist in some way, people sharing what they know and being matched with people who need to know that kind of thing. And if it was, of course, people can't spend hours and hours or days, freely training people. But if there was some way to, at least fairly monetize that for individuals who are doing the teaching, I think it would be highly worthwhile. Now, there could be some individuals who would do all of this at no cost, but I think ultimately the company that would put something like this together would be benefiting financially from it, and so in some way, shape, or form, and so that income should be shared. It's sort of like OpenAI getting people to train their large language models for free, right? And they're getting all this free work, and now they're making billions off of free work. So that I think it should be fair, but I think we definitely need some kind of platform like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. So what do you see coming down the pipe, as it were? What's the next thing?
I think AI, we're going to start to see the language models integrated with everything as an interface. And I think it will become a habit, just like going to Google right now and searching. And one thing I noticed is in my many years as an e-commerce web developer is that hardly anybody ever goes and types an address into an address bar. Yeah, if I tell you my address for my website is kilroyblockchain.com, you'll probably go to Google and type Kilroy Blockchain, even if you know it. And I think that by the same token, the large language models are going to just become a habit in that way, where we go to it first. And I think that the next thing we're going to see there is, and as a result of that, we're not just going to be searching for things and finding them and then taking action on what we find. We're going to be asking the model to do the work for us. So it'll be like, go out and I want to take a boat trip on Lake Travis, and I want to leave on May 15th, and I want to have it for the whole day. And then I want to invite my 5 best friends, and you might need to take a look at my social media to figure out who they are. And I want you to send them all an invitation, and then pick us a nice restaurant afterwards to make reservations. And so I've told all this to my model, and I may just be talking just like I've said it to you. And then approve, 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 approve. I've done what would have taken me hours. I'm off doing something else. And that's how our whole lives are about to go. Instead of search engines, we're going to have work engines. And how's that going to help us? Right now, there's a utopian idea that we're all going to be sipping cool drinks and watching everything work for us. But, I think those of us who've been in the trenches long enough know that just means we'll get more work put on us. And so, who knows where it's going to come out. But right now, it's definitely interesting.
Well, yeah, I would like the opportunity to return to painting. I don't mean painting rooms or exteriors of homes. I mean on canvas. So I could handle a little break from all the tech work that I do. But interesting, very interesting.
I like to
work engines. Yeah. So, okay, let's say people want to learn more about blockchain and AI used together. Blockchain Tethered AI book, I guess, is one place. Where else can they go?
They can get in touch with me at Karen at kilroyblockchain.com. They, of course, can get the book. And then on LinkedIn, I'm LinkedIn / Karen Kilroy. Easy to find.
Wow. This has been a fascinating conversation. Karen, thank you so much for taking time. And I'm glad serendipity brought us together for a little while anyway. And I wish you all the best in your current and following endeavors. So
thank you so much, Vaughn. It's always a pleasure to meet someone else who has worked in OS too. Yeah. It's like we're in the club.
Yeah. Very good. Hey,
thank you.
Take care now.
You too. Bye-bye.